All right, the canvas is fairly dry, so I'm just gonna go in here and kind of like, maybe it's not. It was dry down here. Wipe away that salt. And you can see where I wiped it right down here, where the salt has just like eaten into the spots of the canvas. Or not the canvas, but the paint. Okay, that's obviously not dry there. Annoying. Oh, it's taking me forever to try this. That's the only bad thing about using watercolors, but the effect of it is so cool. I really like it. Now, I can already see that I kind of want to add, I mean, I do like all the different, I don't know if you guys can see it with the video and the lighting and stuff in here, because I have my studio lights, camera lights on, but there's like some kind of like cool spots going on, like it's not all even, and I love that about it. I do want to add a couple of really fun kind of drips coming down a little bit, so I'm just going to go back to my mop brush and I'm going to just grab, try to think, I mean, I want it to be like some fun colors, maybe not just blue, so how about we do a little bit of pink. I'm going to do this really light pink. Now you want to make sure your other layer is pretty dry, because if not, you're going to get, you know, if you mix colors that aren't both warm or both cool or whatever, you're not going to get very good results. You're going to get a moppy mess of brown when the colors mix. I'm going to make sure I just get a lot of color on there. And then I'm just going to kind of take it across the top. And I mean, I have like just a teeny bit. I don't even know if you guys can see that color on there. Maybe I should make it a little darker so you can see it. I certainly don't want to ruin it. So I'm going to put just a little bit of color, and then I'm just going to let this drip down a little bit. Just a little bit. And see how we just get these really light, gorgeous drips across the top? It's just so pretty. And if we want, we can, while that's wet, we could add a second color in, like a yellow maybe. But I want to clean that brush off. And I want it to be a super bright color. So I'm going to use a smaller brush. And I'm going to use these pans because they are way pigmented. So I'm going to take a little bit of this. I mean, not the pans, the tube paints are way pigmented. And I'm just going to add, I'm nervous, maybe a little bit here and there. And I'm just going to take it and let it run just a teeny bit. Not too much. Just like that. I don't want it any more than that because I really want to keep the focus, you know, add some, I want to keep the focus of this here. I don't want it coming all the way down through. And I'm actually going to even take my rag and just kind of dab some of that back a little bit, because I don't even know if I want it that strong. Not with yellow anyways. I think pink would be okay. But let me see what I've got in the way of pink in this. I always forget how to open this thing. I like to layer it over the color that's already on there because it does this really cool, like I said, when you put wet watercolor over the top of wet watercolor, it does a pretty cool like effect. You mainly see it once it's dry, but okay. And honestly, that is like as little I want to do for right now. I can add more later, but I really want to not have a whole lot going on up there. We could do that down in the grass though if you wanted to. Add a little bit of like a pop in there. Like this lime green would pop out just a little bit. So I just add that in. And then if you want, you can spray a little bit of water on there, but I'm just gonna let what's already on there do its job. Maybe I'll spray it a little. There we go. All right, let's wash out our watercolor brush. Now we're gonna let that dry, and again, if you want to hasten it with using your water thing, you can for sure. Now I chose to use two, pink and yellow, because the paper that I'm going to be using is pink and yellow. So I'm not introducing like any new colors to the palette. So it's not going to be too crazy as far as like the color goes. And I am going to pull some of this back a little bit just to keep it calm. It's all just subtle layers. It just looks, you want it to look light and airy, very light and airy. That's what watercolor is. Even though these aren't really watercolor, these gelatos, they're gonna give you the same really gorgeous kind of effect. Some of their paints, I will say, are a lot more yeah, that's pretty dry. Well, they've got some that are just really pigmented, the colors are. Let's add a little bit of that to there. That's just the gelato. Gonna get it wet a little bit. And let it drip just a tad bit. Let me see. I've got this hot pinkish one. I don't want a lot of it, but I think it would add. And you can mix the gelato up off of the canvas, you know, just like we did in the pan, or you can put it directly on here. Off of the canvas you have more control. That just gives it a little bit of brightness. Alright, I think it's good. Okay, gonna let this dry all the way so that we can put our dress on it, and so we will be back. Okay, so our next step is going to be to cut the dress. And really, it's kind of like hit or miss. I mean, there is really no pattern or thing. It's just whatever dress that you like to make. I am just gonna do a simple kind of, I want to make it somewhat big. And I kind of just, I want my lines actually going this way. So I'm going to cut out this size. And that still might be a little big, but at least it gives me something to work with. So I'm just going to kind of do an A-line kind of dress. Yeah, like that. And see, I actually wish I would have came out a little more, but guess what? That's okay. No, I was gonna say we could still use it because we're gonna cut up, make the butterflies, but I want the butterflies to come out this way. So guess what? I'm gonna cut it again. And I liked how it winged out on that side. So I actually kind of want it to come up a little more. Really, it's just about finding a shape of a dress that you like on Pinterest or whatever, and then using that kind of shape. Again, look what we did. It's okay, I'm not worried about it. And I'm just gonna do a cute little round neck. Now it's just getting worse. There we go. Still not perfect, but that's okay. And we could do something cute with a band in the middle of it, something just to make it go a little bit better. But okay, so now what we want to do is focus on cutting out pieces of this. I will tell you the easiest way to do this though, instead of trying to come in and keep squashing it out, is kind of just make yourself a random, just kind of whatever. Okay, so that's gonna be where my butterflies are cutting out, and I've kind of come in a little bit because I don't want it to be all perfect, all the same. It's just completely random. The next step that you want to do, depending on the punch that you're going to use, like I have this butterfly punch that I love right here that I like to use. However, it has this stupid big one in the middle of it, and I don't necessarily want to cut that big one out every time I cut it. So what I'm going to do is around these edges, I am going to just use this smaller punch that I have. It's not my favorite shape, but I'm still going to use it and kind of intermix it. So what I'm going to do is look behind here, and I don't want to go in and cut it. Let me zoom in. Like, I'm just going to kind of cut out pieces of the edges of the dress. So let's open that up so you guys can see. So see how it's not all the way on there? And then maybe like this one's turned this way and it's out a little more. Maybe this one is all the way punched out. Maybe this is a half. You have to really manipulate your paper to get it in here the way that you want it. I don't want them all turned to the side, that's my problem. Just enough, and see how I just barely cut those out? Just enough that you have something. Now, I do want to keep this particular one right here because I'm going to actually put it back in there, and I want to cut another one like that. I think I'm going to do that down here though. So I want to keep those two pieces. And let's even do third one if we can get in here. It's the totally disadvantage of using a stamp like this, but maybe we'll just come in sideways over here. Alright, so those are my 3 butterflies I want to keep track of. Now for the rest of this, I can go ahead and use this punch and just punch into it. I'm going to want a lot more small than large, so, and you could get really technical and follow the lines on this. I think it's just meant to be more fun. So if you do that, it doesn't get fun, if that makes sense. All right, so let's cut ourselves just a few more, just in case. I don't even know if I'm getting those right. I should turn that over. All right, so let's put this back on here, and we're gonna actually want to Mod Podge that down. If you want, you could, I'm gonna go in and actually cut out, I just want to have one kind of big one coming off, so I'm gonna come in and actually trace that with something. Where are you? I need a really, really fine tip. Something. doesn't have to be perfect, but enough that it'll be the shape of it. Yeah, that'll work. All right, so let's get this down. We're gonna just use a brush that's not hard, for one. And I'm using my matte medium because it's what's not yucky. And we're gonna put this down right here. All right, let's zoom out a little bit. I think I want to take these down just a little bit. All right, so we got to go back and find those heart ones again that we used, or that we cut out. Where are you? I just kind of pushed them all to the side. Now I'm like, great. They'll show up. I'm not gonna, there's another one. I know them just because they're a different shape. Okay, so let's get off all this little stuff. Cut all these things over here that we want to use. And we'll turn all these over so they're facing the right. And we might have to cut out more, you never know, but we'll see. All right, the first thing that I want to do is pop those back in to where they came out of. And actually, we're going to do a large one and kind of fake that that large one was there. Which means probably really a good job of faking that because it doesn't really match up, but I'm just gonna stick these back in here. And while I'm doing that, I'm actually like kind of just bending them up a little bit so that they look like they're starting to come off of the dress. If that makes sense. I think what I want to do is cut a better, like, just say that that was that. Just for this purpose, because I want it to so that's, I'm going to try and get, let's see, how am I going to do this so it works the best way? That's about right where I want it. So let's just cut that down. I'm going to go over that, and then, oh, that's not it. Is that it? No, this is it underneath it. There we go. All right, so that's kind of a better match. So we'll stick that one in, and then let's just start filling in like all of these little areas. And there's two ways you can do this. You can just use the matte medium or whatever, but you can also use like a glue stick. You can use a gel medium, you know, whatever you think is going to stick the best for you. That's what you're going to want to use. For me, I know this matte medium will be just fine, and actually I might move to a gel medium, just because it's kind of nicer. Gives you a little more control over where you're sticking it. So I'm gonna grab myself some, nope. I'm just going to put a little bit of this gel medium on the back of this. Start putting these on everywhere. And at some point you want to start, I mean, you don't want them to be so close together, perhaps right where they're by like the dress, but or the edges of the dress, maybe you do. But we're just gonna now where this has got some pink in it, I'm gonna try and find one that has like the orange and the pink, just so that it has a little bit of consistency to it. This one will probably be better. And I'll pop that out a little bit more, and this out a little bit more. So now you're just kind of piecing these all over the place. Still in somewhat the shape of the dress. Now, as I mentioned before, closer to the dress, like closer to this, they're going to be closer in, like together, the butterflies are. But as we get further out, they're going to start to like, because they're starting to fly off, so they're going to get further apart. So like, just kind of heavy concentrate. Okay, so it's gonna take me a little while to do this, but you can see I'm just kind of piecing them in here. And I don't want you to have to watch me do the whole thing. So I'm just going to continue to fill these in. And I actually am going to put this one in here because that's where that flower probably would be. Gotta cut lots more. That's for sure. So I'm going to do a bunch more right in here, and then I'm going to start to really space these out and then have them kind of flying off there, if that makes sense. So I'm going to punch myself out some more of these little critter butterfly thingies and just kind of start placing them everywhere. And I really want mostly the small ones. I think the big one's cute too, but kind of like the little teeny ones. They're just so playful. But the big ones do help take up space a lot faster. That is for sure. Probably shouldn't do that right before I'm working, huh? Yeah, that was smart. Dirt, dirt, dirt. I want this wing to be up more, so I really want this to be 3D as much as possible. Alright, okay, so that's what you're going to do, okay? So you're going to just start filling these in, and these can go any which way that you want. And it might be easier to use tweezers, but I like to do things the hard way. Alright, I'll come back when this is a little bit further along, and we'll add in more details, because once this is done, it's still not finished. We still got lots to do. So, okay, we'll be back.